Hello, ladies and gentlemen, how are you all doing? This is Con Ulrich coming to you with another episode of Company of Heroes 2 Fight Night. And today's match brings us up with the OKW forces of Fortune over here, and the Yellow Trunks, but he's not a coward, trust me, I've seen his games played before. And over here in the Purple Trunks we have Edelweiss, actually I'm assuming it's Heart of Iron Edelweiss, a thoroughly un-Soviet name, and yet he's playing for the motherland. But yes, we actually already see that Edelweiss has gone for the Partisan Tactics Commander, which means he's going to be pulling out tons and tons of those very, very irregular military units, which are quite annoying. They pop out of buildings when you're not looking, and it can be quite an issue for your Germanic comrades. And as, of course, as we see people kind of doing the standard breakout over here, let's go over through Fortune's commanders real quick. So first we have Feuersturm. So we have the Hetzer, which is actually kind of one of those fun little things that has really not really been getting a lot of play, in at least as far as I've seen. We have Breakthrough Doctrine, of course, with the Ogtiga right there. And as with the Combat Engineers and the MP40 armed, Sturm Pioneers get actually into a little bit of a combat. We also have the Luftwaffe Ground Forces Doctrine with the MG34, which is kind of garbage, but it does suppress things rather well. But okay, actually one thing I want to point out real quick that I thought was rather interesting is that Fortune is bringing along a bulletin that has Sturmoffizier. Now, the Sturmoffizier, in my experience again, and given this is not an exhaustive experience, has not been getting a ton of play. It's just it's sometimes too utility based, and if the officer gets picked off, then your squad is kind of pretty much like loses an absolute ton of combat effectiveness, and he is not cheap. Let me tell you that. But right now we do see those MP40 Sturmpio's taking some heat at the same time, putting some hurt out on those combat engineers. And now in a little bit of a mid-range shoot-off with those conscripts, I was going to call them convicts for a second, but conscripts. At the same time, we do notice that there is a two Volksgrenadiers. If I remember correctly, let's just pull the strategic map and do it this way. So we have Volksgrenadier moving to the north, kind of capping things. There's another Volksgrenadier coming up behind, and there's a second Sturm Pioneer coming in. My guess is probably to come down maybe right up to the south. We'll see about that, though. We also are going to see that there are 3 conscript squads in the field, as well as 2 combat engineers. And although it does seem like something of a standard breakout, we are seeing a little bit less action to pick up the strategic point here, or even a Soviet rush to move up to the north, which is something you tend to see a little bit more often. But yes, that's where things are right now. And we are seeing a quick tech up from Edelweiss. Less than 3 minutes in, we are seeing a tech up the support weapon Kompania. My guess is to get a couple Maxims on the way, and are we going to see? No, in fact, we're going to see Rakettenwerfer instead. So no tech up from Fortune for the immediate future. But we do see a Schumann's been completed. The question is, where is that Schumann? Schumann's not up there. Schumann's down here somewhere, I guess. No, it is not. Ulrich. We have lost the idea with the Schumann. That doesn't make sense. Makes much more sense to have these guys having a dropping a mine over in the middle area. But that's neither here nor there. We are going to see these Volksgrenadiers shifted away after Rakettenwerfer comes out into the field. We're going to hide back in this house over here to the northeast of the town center, this church. And this church right here is the dominating thing for the entire field, which is a big issue sometimes for, let's say, the second player out onto the field. Why is it such an issue? Because frankly, there's a bunch of windows to the east. There's only a couple windows to the west, but at the same time, if you put sit a nice little machine gun in the windows up top on the steeple, or in this kind of front or back window, you can suppress an awful long way. Finally, we do see a supply half-track coming out for Fortune, and surprisingly enough, nothing really yet coming out for Edelweiss. Although he probably could bring in maybe a partisan troop out of there. It would be quite deadly. But thankfully for the good of those Sturmpires right here, that's not happening. We are going to see, however, this other squad of Volksgrenadiers sliding in behind of these conscripts. I want to see if perhaps they're going to jump out. No, instead they're going to try to engage these conscripts right here. Oh, and there is the first squad of partisans coming out. And they're just wrecking face. They're just beating on this poor Volksgrenadier over here. And very, very wisely, these Rakettenwerfer crew does back off as well. My guess is going to be Battle Group Headquarters, maybe a little bit further up here. I don't really see a reason why it'd be anything else. But we are also going to see a Maxim coming out for Edelweiss, and my guess is maybe we'll see them try to kind of isolate and force these troops into retreating at the same time while the partisans take the middle point and they start finally extending up to the north. Nevertheless, 500 to 456, less than 5 minutes into the game, Fortune does have a bit of a hold on the, or a bit of a lead, excuse me, on the game, which has now been isolated and stopped at the capping point from 1 to 1. We are also going to see that these conscripts, I keep going to call them convicts, are getting awfully hurt. And I would suggest probably backing those guys up pretty quickly. They're also going to start dropping models. And Edelweiss is already behind in terms of manpower. It will be... Oh, wow. There's a ton of fire going into this house, though. Right now, this is like the three little pigs. And this is the house of wood. The house of sticks, rather. Excuse me. It's been a long time since I've ever the three little pigs. And the Soviet Russia is going to blow, and the big bear is coming in with a flamethrower, in fact. So it's time for those Volksgrenadiers to book it out of there, which they do. So yes, we do see these partisans are also coming up here to kind of isolate the southern munitions point as well as its victory points. Not that means a whole lot necessarily in the interim, but we are going to see quite an issue for the German player, who is kind of behind at least a little bit in army comp. Especially even more so to notice that there's now a mine right here in the middle of the road, and these poor pioneers, these poor Volksgrenadiers is going to run right into it, and I am just not looking forward to casting the death of those guys. Oh no, the Raketenwerfer's going straight in. Don't do it, boys. We love you.
We have more partisans than the regulars waiting to join the...
Luckily, the Raketenwerfer has not charged up this particular area just yet, and hopefully even better, it would be nice to see if one of these guys... There we go. We just see a hazard removal crew shifting things around, and I'm wondering if right now he's going to try to do attack ground to try to blow up this mine. Kind of a unique way of doing this, though. His own troops are going to run into it, and boom. Wow. Dude, they skirt around that like nobody's business, but that Raketenwerfer's now got an eye on the prize. He's going to take a shot at that thing, which is good because he's being isolated hardcore right now, and maybe what he's doing is just holding out hope. Not for an ISG, that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. Maybe a half-track? I'm not sure I like that one either, though. Unfortunately, this Raketenwerfer does not seem to be doing a whole lot of good in taking out this mine. It's just kind of humorous if it wasn't so sad. In the meantime, Edelweiss is definitely capping up the rest of this field. He's picked up the middle part of this town. This Maxim is going to have quite a big strong point and to be supported by a second Maxim on the outside. The only thing that might be good out of this is maybe we can take down these partisans quite a bit, but that hasn't happened just yet. We are going to see a second unit of partisans coming back in to kind of take on this Raketenwerfer, and if they concentrate the fire on it, they might be able to pick it up, and for their own sake, I hope they make it out of there soon. Because these Germans don't look very keen on taking prisoners, and they do force away those partisans back to base camp. Even more harsh is now the fact that there is that flamethrower on the field. So cover is completely and totally negated, and those partisans just ran up through here and they gave their last breath. They screamed "Do svidaniya," and that was all she wrote. However, this Maxim at the same time is going to wreck this Raketenwerfer, and they just very, very wisely to retreat. Even more interesting, though, is that we do see the Sturmpire squad. He's apparently gone for the Feuersturm doctrine. So this Pioneer squad has both hazard removal as well as a flamethrower, which is kind of an interesting decision. A little bit less interesting is the fact that right now he's under the influence of a trip cap. What might be happening here is, yep, there's a Volksgrenadier as well as an infantry support gun. Kind of give a little bit of indirect fire, and here comes the mechanized regiment, which will in turn permit those brave Germans to finally bring in a Panzer II of their own and really take the field in the absence of any immediate anti-tank capability on the part of the Russians. Nevertheless, he needs to move a little bit quickly here because it's 9 minutes into the game and now he's behind. He was up 50 tickets and now he is behind by almost 40, and it's going to be way more than that by the time that Panzer II comes out. And if you look at the map itself, good lord, it practically bleeds. It's so communist, it's not even funny.
Ready for action.
But it looks like up here in the north, might see the beginning of the counterattack. A very, very vicious one, conducted by a lot of squads of infantry, practically his entire force. And with a single squad of conscripts, it's probably best that these conscripts run pretty darn quick, especially if they're taking, just running through negative cover like that. It's pretty brutal. No, surprisingly enough, these Volksgrenadiers just say, bro, we got this. Feel free to go on and take something important. We got this, we got this, we got this. Take out one model, probably take out another one. And they're going to force these conscripts to run back through the gamut of death. This is like a gauntlet, a true gauntlet. And these guys make it back, I'd be very, very impressed. As now we have another 14 guys opening up on them, as well as MP40. So we see one drop, we see two drop. I'm going to see a third drop. There's going to be another squad loss for Edelweiss. Soft and white, clear and bright. Those guys are not going to be happy to meet their maker. And are we actually going to see the mechanized regiment? Yes, we are, and that means we're going to have a Panzer II coming up pretty darn quick, which is exactly what they need at this point. Because this Maxim is going to keep things rather frustratingly locked off, at least unless they can get a... Oh wow, the second Maxim here to the northeast as well. Until they can get that flamethrower close enough, it's going to be quite difficult to take any portion of the center map. Frustratingly also for the German troops right now is the fact that these partisans are just laying waste to them with those PPSs. A very, very interesting point to notice that the PPS, which, even though it was a Soviet weapon, it was copied pretty much by the Germans and adapted into their later submachine guns. But even then, a lot of Germans saw the PPS as being a vastly superior submachine gun, especially in the Eastern Front, and it was not uncommon for entire platoons to try to pick them up, and they were just very, very prized possessions. Very, very interesting. Ooh, and we do see the very much a danger of that partisan build. We see the, those brave Germans jump out, and then these partisans jump out right after them. Unluckily for them, at the same time, they are in negative cover, and they're going to get wrecked hardcore, and maybe going to see a squad drop on this one as well. It might be all the better for the German player. Will Edelweiss lose another one? No, he won't. They'll be just fine. We do see the Panzer II coming out, going to come out quite a little bit, but even then they're being preempted. Oh wow, they picked up that infantry support gun. Oh no, never mind, I'm sorry, excuse me, I'm looking at the wrong side here. I am so sorry. That's a T-70 coming out. I was looking at the purple side, I'm so used to seeing Germans as the purples, and I was thinking to myself, wow, that's a very, very fast Panzer II. But as that is not to be the case, we have the infantry support gun over on one side. My guess is probably going to start unloading on these houses. Nope, not quite yet. Has to unload on this house. Not quite yet either. What is he doing with that support gun? He is, for some reason, unloading on this first garrison right here. We're going to see a great portion of these German troops retreat back, which we cannot particularly, you know, fault them for, considering their, completely outclassed by that itsy-bitsy tank, which, even though it's got two crew members, it is still quite a deadly machine. I will note historically that T-70 had a lot of issues because the commander had to load, fire the gun, keep an eye out to everything else, and operate a machine gun, all at the same time, with the only other person in the tank to be the driver. So you can only imagine how insane it must have been to be a T-70 crewman, especially when you consider that a lot of the crewmen never were able to, how do I put this delicately, actually have legit training. And sorry, oh guys, it was not that Panzer II. Instead, we're going to see a Puma coming out, which is probably a good opportunity to beat on this T-70, even though the infantry support gun does look like it's going to establish some hurt on that lighter tank. So in the meantime, though, 227 to 455, 14 minutes in, Fortune's got to get on his horse, because right now, guys, again, that map continues to bleed, and it is not in a good way. We're going to see this Puma move up into the, at least the southern portion of the town, and with the Soviets right now really not having any manner of anti-tank, Puma might be enough to actually kind of establish a little bit of control on the map. I don't know, maybe. We do see by the map, by the progress bar down here, by the way, we have only just begun to fight. And at the same time, we watch, ooh, then we see the Puma reveals itself, and that cat says, yo bro, you are mine. Blows down the main gun, and is going to take out that T-70 ever so delicately. And it explodes in that beautiful, beautiful orange fireball. And all they had to do was allow one squad of Volksgrenadiers to be suppressed by these Maxims. But we are going to see him back off in just a second, even though he does pick up some veterancy in the meantime. And very, very wisely, Fortune does decide to scrap, to salvage, excuse me, the wreck over here, which is definitely going to be necessary because right now his fuel income is rather terrible. That's just a function of just Edelweiss's very, very strong domination of this map. However, I must note that although he is dominating the map, Edelweiss has been losing some squads here and there and just cannot be too good to be a Soviet troop right now. To be a Soviet soldier, rather, excuse me. It'd be very, very also interesting to see if either one of the squads of these conscripts or these combat engineers do get picked off. And am I wrong, or did the Maybe he got shot in the back by his own trooper? I'm not entirely sure. Ooh, but we might see a Maxim as well drop here. Yes, we do. We see a Maxim drop, and it's going to be a prime pickup for Fortune. And although one model does drop, we are going to see just enough hit points allow those troops to kind of pull back. And Edelweiss does think to himself, hey bro, where did all my troops go? He had like 35 or 40 supply, now he's down to 22, 23. You see a lot of his squads are kind of hunkering back in base saying, I just had a lot of comrades a second ago, what happened to those endpoints? Unfortunately for them, they are all dead. Like, they're dead, Jim, they're never coming back. But Star Trek is a little bit beyond these guys at this current time anyway. And while this infantry support gun does continues to lay down holy hell on this Maxim, these guys wisely decide to vacate the church. There we go. We finally see this Puma getting repaired, as well as these combat engineers. Is it the same? Wait a second. Okay, no, I was correct on that one. So we are actually going to see one Stormpower squad that has both a flamethrower as well as a hazard removal kit. We're going to see another one just as a hazard removal kit. The problem for them at the same time, though, is these guys are probably going to suppress pretty hardcore at any second. And with 100 points remaining, it is probably good that Fortune is finally starting to get some caps on these strategic points, being down 400, I'm sorry, excuse me, 350 tickets and all of that. However, to his benefit, there are absolutely no Soviet forces on the map. The closest one are this partisan-like squad, this death squad, kind of shifting out here. And even then, these guys are extremely, extremely brittle. So all you need is to have one bad engagement, and there goes Edelweiss's entire gameplay. And they are creeping forward, my friends. They are creeping forward indeed. So the tripwire flares, the frag grenades, everything, pretty much, like, worthless against this Puma. And there we go. We're finally seeing another VP getting picked up here. And I just heard another very, very interesting choice. We're going to see that these conscripts are moving up behind this stone wall, but they are not Jackson, and this is not the Civil War. Bravely, they're going to charge this Puma, and although they definitely are going to have access to anti-tank grenades, that Puma is just a little bit too fast for them. Now, my question is, where is that machine gun? It is too far back to the west, excuse me, to the east. I'm thinking of the wrong side here. And nevertheless, these infantry support guns are starting to laying down the smackdown on the conscripts who are just flanked in a lot of different directions. One thing to note, guys, that green cover is only unidirectional, so if you decide to get yourself flanked, it is almost as being out in the open. Not in a negative cover, mind you, but at the same time, out in the open. You don't want to be there. This Puma, though, continues to dominate the center part of the map. He's got 13 kills already. Or, no, that's 13. I was going to say that's 15 for a second, but that's 13. And we're also going to see that Maxim is going to suppress and then pin those partisan squads. So maybe, just maybe, we're going to see another drop coming out for Edelweiss. And I just got to see that happen. I got to see it happen. We already see another squad of partisans is going to back away. Ooh, and one goes down already from a fine shot from Hans Jorgensen, who sounds like he might be from Scandinavia, but I assure you, in this particular case, he is German. Unfortunately for the Germans at the same time, they are very, very close to taking fire from their own artillery pieces, and it does seem that that Maxim machine gun has been decrewed. Even more dangerously, we are going to notice that these partisan tank hunters have this Puma dead to rights, so claws out, my friend. Gotta watch out, but luckily a Panzerschreck fire misses completely. But it will be kind of interesting to see what happens if these Sturm Pioneers actually start getting the chance to unload. Ooh, an excellent block coming out from Fortune as well, forcing these partisans to go back the long way. Unfortunately for them, for Fortune's forces, unfortunately for Fortune's forces, there we go, they are not able to make good on that decision. Now, I really would like to see a Flame Hetzer come out here, but I don't suspect that that's going to be the direction that Fortune's going to go. He's got 2 infantry support guns already. He's got that Maxim recruit. He's got some very fine infantry on the way. And right now, Edelweiss has not done anything to tech up, which is very, very surprising to me. Oh no, has he? Oh yes, he has finally done so. So Tankovi as well as Mechanized Armor Compania. And my suggestion, actually, at this point, is to probably bring in no. What am I thinking of? Oh, that's what he's waiting on. I was thinking to myself, why is he not putting a T-34 just yet? T-34 would probably change things around quite a bit. Yes, there's that Puma out there, but a T-34 outguns a Puma any day of the week and twice on Thursday. I don't know why it's Thursday, just they have a whole thing on Thursday. It's a really big deal. But okay, we are also going to see this Maxim in the north getting forced into retreating, and there comes that T-34 finally. It's probably a good idea because otherwise Edelweiss might be singing his swan song. Not too quickly, mind you. It is 72 to 431, and right now it is not in favor of anyone. But the usage of a Flammenwerfer over here is going to force these guys back to the dugout. We're going to see, however, again, another SWS coming out and getting forced away by these very, very plucky combat engineers. Two squads moving down to the south to pick up this VP. At the same time, the one in the center is going to come over for our Soviet player. Excuse me, no, the center VP is going to go to the German player. My bad. Again, I'm just kind of all kinds of mixed up today, guys. Forgive me. Unfortunately for these pioneers, this hard work is going to get blown apart in just like 3 seconds. As they're going to put up the wire and it's going to get run over right now. We are going to see another reinforced steel barricade coming down, as well as this Puma kind of just picking on these troops down in the south. But here's where the main event is to find this T-34 just hammering away on these guys. Unfortunately for them, though, this Puma seems to be more than enough to take it out. It's going to be rather interesting. Oh, wow, and he misses right with that first shot. That could be his death sentence, and that is. There goes that T-34. So what I thought was an excellent decision is now another fallen hero. We are going to see another squad of partisan tank hunters over here to the eastern side, but those guys exchanging out that Panzerschreck instead of those PPSs is going to be kind of a death sentence for them. And we're going to see in just a moment, as soon as these pioneers decide to start laying waste to them with their Flammenwerfer, that they're forced into a very, very quick retreat. And now I feel that Fortune has easily stabilized. He's got almost twice the amount of supply that Edelweiss has, and for really none of the issue. He's even got the church locked down. You know, apparently God is on his side. God wills it. And we're going to see another push by infantry, but without any kind of indirect fire, it might be kind of an issue for the Russian player. Even more so, we are going to see this map slowly recover, not bleeding quite so much anymore, unless of course you're the Soviet forces, at which point just blood everywhere, my friend. And a very, very interesting decision is been made by Fortune to kind of go and burn down the house. And so help me God, I wish I could remember who sings that song, but I cannot right now. I think it's Talking Heads, but feel free to correct me, guys, if I'm wrong. We are going to notice that these partisans, although they're extremely cheap, are extremely brittle, and that's been proved and again and again. Edelweiss is dropping squads left, right, and center, unfortunately, and while these conscripts are desperately trying to take out this squad, which is taking out their kind of little church over here, it is not going particularly well. Fortune at the same time is floating an absolute butt-ton of manpower, and I'm sure people are going to take him to task for that one, but he is dominating this field, taking out another squad of partisans. And although it wasn't particularly skilled squad of partisans, now he's concentrating fire on these full veterancy conscripts, and they are forced away, wisely, retreating back to the dark shadows from whence they came. Even more interestingly, though, we're going to see, can they actually reach over here with their firepower? Yes, they can. Those infantry support guns are going to start firing on this house. And with apparently now the SWS deploying at the Schwerpanzer headquarters, this entire area is now dominated. Unless there's a major armored vehicle push down in the south, Edelweiss has pretty much only one option, and that's to go right into the teeth of these forces. And now, unfortunately for this church as well, we are going to notice that apparently the Germans don't really like the worship of God happening on this particular map, and they're going to take that thing out. Flames in every which direction. It's going to be very, very... but to say it's a bad idea might be understating it slightly, but we are going to see the entire thing has now been completely totally set ablaze. which is going to be a slow decay of health. It's a very rarely used seen mechanic out of most players. But I definitely do like seeing that out of Fortune. It's an excellent decision in my mind. He's not going to garrison it. What does he care? He's got locked down on 2 VPs. Not a big deal to him. And now looks he's bringing that Panzer forward, and maybe he's kind of sealed the deal. Now, bravely, these poor guys don't know about the Schwerpanzer headquarters, but they're about to find out. So he gets line of sight. Death. Taking out one model. Pinning another one. Taking out other models. Models left and right dropping. And there's that Puma at the same time being that little devil. That little devil. And now, despite charging up by 3 or 4, what was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squads. He charged with 5 squads and he lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys with nothing to show for it. With barely any damage whatsoever on the Schwerpanzer headquarters as well. So Edelweiss needs to adapt rather quickly. He's bringing out a T-34, but unless he's a little more intelligent about how he uses it, that T-34 may not do a whole lot more for him. And with a Panzer IV on the map, it becomes even more dangerous for the Russian troops. See a couple more salvos, by the way, popping out on this garrison. Not quite taking it out just yet. Maybe what I would have seen out of Edelweiss is creating some maybe Katyusha to maybe, you know, loft firepower. Since this is not the winter map, it only eliminates only a few areas. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, he's burning out this building over here too. Now I finally understand why he's doing it. But a Katyusha at the same time would at least lay waste to some of this indirect fire. And he could do it pretty much from the safety of his own base, which is even better. And now I was thinking to myself, of course he's trying to deny the garrison, so I want to put a machine gun in there, but duh. What he's doing is he's eliminating all the spawn points, possible spawn points, for those partisans. And once you eliminate the unpredictability of partisans, you pretty much eliminate the usefulness of them, to be perfectly frank. And we're also going to see this tanks at 20 paces. We have the T-34 kind of saying, hey bro, I got this, and then getting completely totally outgunned. 3 shots, 3 penetrations for the P4. One more shot might seal it. Oh, but he just barely deflects off the front of that armor. That Glacis is angled just enough to protect him. In the meantime, though, that Panzer IV has barely taken any damage. That T-34 is forced to go back to base to get any sort of repairs whatsoever. It's poor medics, you have to think about it too. These guys just keep coming right back in. They keep patching up and sending these guys right back out, and they keep coming right back a couple seconds later. It's just all cut up. It's just brutalized inside. It's kind of horrible to think about. But alright, so Fortune again is now floating way more manpower. And again, I would really love to see that Flame Hetzer. There's not been a whole lot of anti-vehicle play on the part of Edelweiss. He does bring out those anti-tank partisan tank hunters, not the anti-tank partisans, the partisan tank hunters. And now finally, after 28 minutes of a game, we are going to see our first Zis gun. But even so, that is just way, way too late. And although they have this squad of Sturmpyos down to half health, and with this very, very valiant group of partisan tank hunters, you guys are forced to back away yet again. And I'm going to imagine this other squad's going to get picked up in just a second too, just charging forwards and getting murdered. Kind of wanted to see if these guys will pick up the Panzerschreck. It'd be kind of very funny to me to have a Sturmpio with 1 Panzerschreck, 1 Flammenwerfer, and 1 hazard removal device. Luckily for them, that does not happen because I would eliminate a lot of their firepower. Instead, it goes to a double Shrek squad now for these Volksgrenadiers, who are almost full vet. And that's going to be quite a difficult prospect, especially with the Puma already on the field, as well as that Panzer IV. 1 shot comes in, barely misses low. The Puma's just chasing them on in, and with that turret immobilized, there's the end of that T-34. So, yikes. I'm a little surprised that Edelweiss has just kind of rushed in every single time with unsupported forces. But that's been what's happening, guys. That's been the tail of the tape. And Fortune kind of rubbed it in a little bit. And now these poor Soviets are hiding behind the wreckage of this church. It's like, please, please, taking cover. But they're throwing tons and tons of anti-tank grenades. So it's really a question of whether or not the infantry support guns can loft shots right in there. The first salvo does drop a little bit short to the east. That second one, though, does seem like it's going to come way more on target. And though we do see these Panzerschrecks in the north throwing an incendiary grenade to kind of chase out this Maxim, We might see the death, finally, of this brave Puma. Hoorah. The hoorah in. Is there? Yep, and there's a anti-tank grenade. And there it goes. So that brave Puma does fall. But even in death, he makes way for 2 units of Obersoldaten. And with his current control of the field, he really has nothing to worry about. I will say, though, that the Zisk gun might make things a teensy bit uncomfortable for the Panzer IV, but with only one of them there, it's kind of impossible for the Panzer to do anything but just circle strafe and just kind of blow the guy to smithereens. So while Edelweiss has dominated the early game, it's just his failure to close out, and honestly in my mind it's because he failed to really collect any real vehicle presence until way too late and had no real legitimate anti-vehicle prospects. Yes, I know some of you will complain about the partisan tank hunters as being a viable opportunity, but let's ask ourselves this question. If a unit costs 8, and even though it has a single Panzerschreck, how brittle are those partisans? I mean, those guys could practically blow on them and they're going to fall apart. We are going to see these partisans kind of rush out over here to try to pick on these retreating Sturmpiots as well as cap the center point. But this minor attack is going to be short-lived, and we already see 2 of them drop. Like I said, they are just so brittle. It's very sad to watch. And I was going to say, watch that Panzerschreck hit from like 60 meters. That'd be a deadly attack. I'm also not sure why Edelweiss is rushing out here. I guess he's rushing in the first place, but I don't know why he's rushing the entire field. What he should be doing is sitting back. He's got tons of time. It's only a 2-to-1 cap. Fortune has shown absolutely no desire to cap this northern VP, and just gain a couple of tanks, and at that point maybe charge in with his supporting infantry. But as of right now he's wasting some munitions on a very rear-facing TM35. And he is not... Ooh. That guy could turn into a little bit of bouillabaisse. But he's not even playing to the strength of his army right now. Those partisans are made... Oof. Are made for up-close and personal attacks. And he's not doing that. He's just kind of sitting at range with a lot of them. The PPSs are made to be less than 20 and 15 meter, attacks. They are made for CQB, and it's not happening at all. At the same time, we must notice those infantry support guns are laying waste, even as this kind of happens in the middle, this little kerfuffle. 12 kills on one, only 2 on the other one, but there's been a ton of damage happening for them. And we're going to see what looks like an Su-85 coming out for Edelweiss, although I think at this point it might be a little bit too late, and the tank destroyer might get wrecked, as well as this gun too. It looks like that one scene from Fury, where they are taking out the German anti-tank guns, and they end up being like, a couple hundred yards closer to them. In this particular case, though, with the death of that Zisk gun, in my mind, heralds the death of a lot of Soviet aspirations on this map. And those Volks Grenadiers say, bro, we got this. Full vet, all the way up. They're going to salvage the thing as well, add insult to injury. A very interesting idea. Yeah, 5 fuel. I'm not entirely sure how a Zisk gun sacrifices fuel, but hey, if it works, it works. And there's that Su-85 going to start laying waste to that Panzer IV, which does cause it to wisely retreat. I'm actually kind of surprised you didn't see a mine or 2 on the field over here, this area. Good gosh. He ran over that TM-35 mine. The mine that I derided, he ran over. Wow. That's surprising. I hate to say that I'm wrong, but I was completely wrong on that one, guys. But he does manage to... Oh, no. He manages to force that Panzer IV into being abandoned, and now it's dead, but it does not seem to matter. These Germans might say, you take one of our vehicles, we take one of yours. Then again, they have been just kind of owning the map quite a bit. Even more unfortunately for them, though, even though they're oorahing into the face of this, valley of death, the Obersoldaten refuse to be cowed. And even though there's a grenade coming out to the field, oof, that conscript squad gets popped by the infantry support gun, and that was a pretty vetted up squad of Soviet troops. And now some friendly fire does come in, but that's not going to be too much of a concern, because right now Fortune is sitting on exactly double of the army supply of Edelweiss. And with 1, 2, 3 squads with legit long-term anti-tank capability. He sees it's finally time to take the northern points. A great idea for him, not so much for Edelweiss, who's just allowed that to happen again and again and again. I won't suggest that he was able to go on to the south, but no, good golly, Miss Molly. There is still this area right here. If you look at the area where the Schwerpanzer headquarters is, still right here. Yeah, this kind of thing is going to mess with you quite a bit. But just oorah squad in maybe, or suppress a squad at the same time you can kind of shift around with something else. Definitely have been opportunities. Now he is finally moving in those partisans for that close order combat. But now with a very, very veteran Sturmpio squad, they're going to lose another vetted squad. And now as a Maxim comes as well, these guys are not going to live as either. Yep, and the Soviet weenie roast continues. We are going to see one last desperate attempt with another T-34 getting made, the third one of this map. But I don't think this one's got the distance, everybody. If this was a baseball cast, this would be like one of those shots. It was deep out into center left field, but that center fielder is back, and I don't think it's got the distance to go over that very, very elusive monster of a wall. We see these troops just retreating again and again, and now Fortune almost approaches 3 times the army supply, and it just gets worse and worse as time goes on. He very nearly picked up one of those very veteran squads of Sturmpios, but unfortunately for them, for the Soviet forces, those Pios apparently are rather skilled in retreating, which sounds like a very, very negative thing to say, but let me tell you guys, I would be fine with being skilled at retreating any day of the week. And now with the trip cap underway, and 37 minutes into this game, we do see the T-34 shifting up, and very quickly taking almost a third of health from those 2 Panther Shreks, one of them lovingly donated by those partisan tank hunters. And now with one more shot, that thing goes down to below half health. And guys, I think this is the nail in the coffin for Edelweiss. It is the sound of music. We are listening to the fat lady sing, and it is not. It is not. Glenn Close is the only name I can come up with, but it's not Glenn Close. Good Lord, what is her name? Julie Andrews. That's her name. It's not Julie Andrews singing in the wings, everybody. No, no, no. We have, like, the full-on Nordic, opera singer warming up in the wings. And we can see the depth of that insult to injury we do see happening with this M5 half-track coming out, upgrading with the 450 cals, but that's not going to be enough to take these guys out. Good Lord, they're going to charge in, it's going to get wrecked. 1 shot, 2 shots. Watch, I was going to say, watch a, yes, there we go. Luckily for them, 1 Panther Strike does miss, but even then, although they force that squad into retreating, there's still a fairly big defense in depth. And there's 1 mine being hit, so there goes the T-34's mobility. And up here we have an LMG, which means that we have an opportunity for, what is the term I'm looking for, a Panzerfaust. And we're also going to see these infantry support guns just, again, taking on troops left, right, and center. Panzerfaust coming up.
Another vehicle has been lost in the defense.
And there goes the T-34. No, instead we're going to see actually this half-track pushing away these forces. However, the troops in the middle, the last 2 combat engineer squads, are getting shredded by this Panzer IV and these very brave Volksgrenadiers. So while I have to tip my hat to Edelweiss for taking on the early part of the game, he has been falling short quite a bit, and with a rear armor hit in that M5, that thing is pretty much all she wrote. Right now, 60 to 94, coming into 40 minutes. Right now, we are going to see this Panzer IV chasing this M5, hunting it down, kind of enjoying the thrill of the hunt. Oh, and he flirts with his prey. He says, "Hey, bro, I could shoot at you, I could kill you right now, but I'm not gonna. I'm too nice." However, he does not say the same thing about those conscripts. He does start laying waste to those conscripts, and we are going to see the Obersoldaten putting in booby traps on another point. So right now, guys, we are going to see a bunch of these points all do have booby traps.
The ultimate sacrifice.
We've seen it happen again, too. Good lord. Yep. You have to note that those booby traps have been rather effective right now. And here comes firepower from the infantry support guns. One's got 2 stars. Tons of the infantry has got tons of veterancy. And although the Soviets have been very, very brave, you can kind of tell by how low veterancy is for Edelweiss, as well as its army size, to really kind of tell you the tale of the tape in this particular case.
75 points.
And now these Soviets as well are being forced into retreat. Dropping another model. The manpower is in a desperately low area. You know, this M5 is over here up in the north. Surprisingly, it's still alive. Revenge, let me say, is a dish best served cold, and I tell you right now, I am not sensing that the microwave is working at all. So, das Vidania, Devarish, but I think this one is over. And to be honest, I think in my mind it kind of was over until when Edelweiss didn't invest in any early infantry opportunities. And here comes a booby trap, and he's second now. No, surprisingly enough, the booby trap does not proc. Interesting. So for the first time in this entire game, in fact the first time in probably about 25 minutes, actually probably 30 minutes, Fortune is going to start to take the lead. We are going to see the Su-85 and the Panzer IV tangoing. Unfortunately for the Su-85, that turret rotation is just not going to be good enough to survive. And here goes the Panzer Schreck from about 3 feet. The final coup de grace into the back of that brave tank crew. A little confused by this Opel Sedan. We're so close and so deep. Oof! And that was brutal. Brutal. Almost wipes an entire squad of conscripts with one booby trap. But 60 to 50 points right now, guys, and that infantry support gun says, "Don't worry, bro, I got this." And does like the voice says death before retreat. He does take everyone out in that squad. So a shame, definitely a shame. But you have to take, tip your hat to Fortune. Fortune was, he was down really hardcore early on, and he did not panic. He didn't, whine, complain. He just hunkered down and turned it around. You had to be impressed by play like that. Unfortunately for this infantry attack, I think that was the last thing we're going to see, and this very, very brave half-track's charging in again. It's probably going to decrew this infantry support gun.
We have been reduced. Our HQ is under attack.
Or maybe not. I'm not entirely sure. We do see the Panzer IV now diving in and just adding insult to injury. Edelweiss has 16 left. One shot could eliminate a lot of his troops, and takes out 2 squads right there. And here comes the Feuersturm. Just kind of really just adding insult to injury, and that's all she wrote, guys. And here comes the end. Surprisingly enough, the Panzer IV does not actually die, even though calling an artillery strike down in his own position. You have to kind of admire bravery like that. The M5 does go down, and that, guys, that is it. That is it for this game. So hats off to both players. Edelweiss for your early on pressure. It definitely was a close one right there. And Fortune for coming back, just kind of putting his head down and kind of bowling on forward. 43 minutes and 4 seconds into this game, 60 to nothing remains as the scoreline, and yeah, great game. Guys, this has been another episode of A Company of Heroes 2 Fight Night. If you like what you see, please comment, like, and subscribe below. And I must just say, if you have a game you want me to check out, let me know. Kind of post it in the comments below. Give me a link, give me something. And I will get on that as soon as possible to check it out. So, but for the time being, this is Connor signing off. You all have a great day.